Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. George Christian here. What I want to tell you is a little bit about Valencian language. You know, it's now very, say, well, strongly promoted in our region where we live, in Valenciana or Comunidad Valenciana. Quite a few of our children have to learn it, and that's not a problem. That's an interesting language. What I suggest to you is a 5 minutes course on becoming a little expert in Valencian and also getting to know something about the history and the language and the geography. And this will be only 2 slides. Usually I give you, 10 slides, 20 slides, 15 slides. I know how hard it is. What I want to tell you is the 15th century, the years 1400s, were the highest point in the history of the Valencian culture, literature, and poetry. And two most important representatives of this actually were born not far from Denia, in Gandia or in Valencia, and they lived most of their lives here. The names are Ausiàs March and Joanot Martorell. Martorell wrote the first novel in European history with a hero, with a protagonist, called Tirant Blanche, and you can see the monument to him in Gandia's library. Ausiàs March was writing poetry. Half of his life he lived in Gandia or in Cotalba. This is a little monastery not far away. So Ausiàs March, when you enter Valencia from driving from Gandia or from Denia, you're entering the city along the Ausiàs March, one of the broadest and finest avenues in the city of Valencia. So a little bit about one of the most famous poems of Ausiàs March. It's called Veles Events, Sails and Winds. I love the names of Mediterranean winds, the Mediterranean names. Tramontana, across the mountains, northern wind. Grigal, a wind from Greece, northeastern. Levant or Levant, eastern wind, and we actually live in Levante or Levant, which is the eastern part of Spain. Xaloc, and so forth. So the most famous poem of Ausiàs March is called Veles Events, Sails and Winds. I don't think that I did a very good translation, but that's actually a translation from the internet saying, sails and winds shall my desire achieve, following dubious lanes upon the sea. Mestre and ponent against them I see rise. Xaloc, Levant must now be helping them with their friends, Greg as well as Midjorn, humbly praying the tramontal wind and his blowing to be partial to them, so that all five achieve my safe return. And you know what? These five winds here, from northern to southern, including the eastern part, they were most important for navigators to reach one of the most important ports in the Levante of Spain. Only here, the combination of three easterly winds, Gregal, Levant, and Xaloc, could help a navigator to find the channel and to enter the safe harbor, especially if the northern and the southern were not disturbing them. And that port was called Denia. So when writing his most famous poem in the Valencian literature, Veles and Vents, the poet Marc was actually thinking about how to get back to Denia and then actually to ride to his Gandia, which is only 50 kilometers away. So important is this poem that you have a monument to the poem in the Gandia, Playa Gandia. You have quite a few quotations from this poem. The first 3 or 4 lines really, in Gandia itself on the Duke's palace, in Denia on the Calle La Mar, and so on and so forth. So if only from all Valencian literature you remember Veles and Vents, it will be enough. And if you follow my theory is based on the historian of Denia, Mr. Chabas, who was just saying that an incredible coincidence existed only in front of Denia. The north and southeasterly winds prevailed here and helped a navigator to get into the channel. So now we know the contents. All we have to know now is, well, to do now, is actually to listen to this beat. Just a second. That's a very famous person called Raymond. He's been singing in Valenciano. He's been singing in Valenciano and Valencian for quite a few years. And as you can see, this is, yes, winds and sails. Here are the Valencian words. Yes, he pronounces it not how we expect him to, but that's Valencian language. Beautiful, isn't it? The language sounds very nice. And all five helped me to get back home. George Grisham was giving you the basics of the golden age of Valencian literature. Ausiàs March, the most famous poem called Winds and Sails. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye. See you soon.